new Mazda CX-5 could be your last opportunity to buy a new kind of back to basics motoring mid-size SUV, because there's no electrification here, no hybrid, conventional petrol engine and conventional gearbox. Here I've got the GT variant, which is second from the top, and when you first see it you might think actually that looks pretty much the same as the previous model, but no, it's not until you take a closer look that you'll see some of the details are very different, like the headlights, how they've just drop down there and they merge with the grille. You've got this big opening and chin lower down in black in this case for the GT, with black trimmings around the wheel arches, black alloy wheels, and around the back you'll notice, yeah, brand new tail lights. They pretty much merge in the middle with just the Mazda badge connecting the two. They're tinted as well in the GT, so they look really, yeah, got that cool black pack. Plenty of contrast, especially with this nice white paint color. It's actually bigger than the previous model as well. You've got 75 millimeters roughly added to the wheelbase. Taking a look inside, it is very typical Mazda. Quality touches everywhere, hardly any scratchy plastics around the place. But yeah, excellent design and presentation in here. This has got the two-tone theme as well, which I think breaks it up a little bit. But you've still got black for the important touch points, like the door handle, even the lower door skins, it's all black, so it protects it from, you know, showing wear and tear. Excellent seats in the front as well. You've got power adjustment for the GT variant. The main change inside is this big new touchscreen. So you've still got a conventional gear shifter, electronic handbrake and cup holders, but yeah, that is the main difference. There's no more MZD Connect hand controller down here. You've got to do everything through the touchscreen, or almost everything through the touchscreen. Just start it up and show you. It is a very refined touchscreen in terms of the graphics and so on. They haven't gone over the top and, you know, wow, look at me. Even the size of it, I think it's pretty much at the maximum that you'd want in a vehicle, because some of them are just these massive screens, you know, look at me, look how big my screen is. But this is, I think, a nice blend of providing the graphics and detail that, you know, modern drivers might want, but also not taking over the complete dashboard design. There's still actual design going on here. But yeah, the graphics are highly detailed. I love the little noise when you select any button. It's kind of like an iPhone, but some of these controls are very small and it's a little bit fidgety when you're driving. You do have a main menu here for all of your apps in a grid layout, so that is nice and handy. This stuff remains here as well while you're driving, even if you have Android Auto or Apple CarPlay running. And you've got a home button here as well, so you can always just jump back to the main page no matter how deep you are in the menus. Cog wheel for all your settings. You can turn the brightness right down if you want to as well. Where did I see that? Just here. So that goes very, very dim. Excellent for driving at night. Some modern vehicles, the screens are just way too bright in my opinion, and it just really throws with your eyes when you're driving in pitch black night with no street lights. Then you've got your vehicle settings here, so you can go around your sport mode. It's actually got an off-road mode as well. Or your safety setup. Pretty easy to turn your lane keep assist off and all of that. And then your driving position as well. Look, I think it is a bit of a shame that Mazda has gone for the big screen to take over all the buttons, because Mazda was one of the last car brands out to offer physical controls. Like, I know a lot of people that still want physical controls. So I think they might be, they might be a bit late with this. They might have been preparing this a few years ago when screens were all the craze, and, you know, bigger and better is, yeah, what everybody wants. But I think they kind of missed the mark a little bit there by having a screen takeover for almost everything. You still have power window options down here, but you've still got your mirror controls down on the door, so that is good. Even your door lock button there. Some vehicles, modern vehicles out at the moment, have almost everything in the touchscreen, including adjusting the side mirrors. So it is good that Mazda has retained those main controls. In the back, you've got a bit more leg room for rear passengers, thanks to that extended wheelbase. As you can see, that's in my seating position. You've got heaps of clearance there. Even if you're quite tall, I think you'd be okay. But yeah, my knees are nowhere near the seat at all. Like, you could fully roll that all the way back and still have plenty of room. You've got twin climate vents as well, and heated seats for the outer passengers, as well as twin charging ports, a flip down armrest and cup holders. Look at the headroom. My head's nowhere near the ceiling. So I think even if you were, 6 foot tall, you'd fit in here perfectly fine. And it's comfortable. You've got a nice, soft cushioning for the seat. A little bit of side bolstering in the GT variant, not all that much, but not many rivals offer serious sport seats in the back. But I think this is a very comfortable place to be, and it feels quality, like it feels high quality, sorry. Even the leather on the back of this, even if it is leatherette, it doesn't have that weird shiny sort of surface that some fake leather packages offer. And I think it's a little bit off-putting, whereas this all feels very nice and well made. And then right up the back, you've got heaps of boot space. You've actually got tabs to pull down the rear seats on the sides there, so you don't have to walk around to the door to pop down the rear seats if you need more space. You've actually got a 12-volt socket in the side there as well, and a space saver spare wheel under the floor. And I guess a space saver is not ideal, but it is better in my opinion than a tyre repair kit like a lot of the hybrid and plug-in hybrid and full electric rivals are now presented with. So at least this, it doesn't matter if you get a blowout on the sidewall or just some tyres you can't fix with a tyre repair kit. It just doesn't work. The glue just sprays, slops around inside the tyre, doesn't actually find the hole. So having a space saver means even if you are grand touring, you can put that space saver on and get back to a big town or big city, and then swap the punctured tyre back and get the full size rim back on and get back on the road. Under the bonnet, you've got a 2.5 litre petrol 4-cylinder engine. No more turbocharging. This engine is standard across the board. It's paired up with a 6-speed automatic with all-wheel drive, also standard across the board for now. Power and torque are down a little bit. 132 kilowatts, 242 newton meters, down from 140 kilowatts and 252 newton meters. So it is a little bit disappointing to see the power and torque have dropped. And especially considering this being a bit larger, it's actually a bit heavier as well. It's about 70 kilograms heavier than the previous model, according to Vbox like for like, so the GT all-wheel drive. Fuel consumption remains the same as well, 7.4 litres per 100 kilometres, so there's no improvement there by losing that power. And actually emissions on the combined cycle used to be 172 grams per kilometre, now it's 173. So you're kind of getting less power and torque, well not kind of, you are getting less power and torque for no real advantage. Considering this is heavier though, I guess 7.4, that is a slight advantage, maybe. But yeah, I think they could have done better than that, especially if you weigh it up against many of the rivals, plug-in hybrid, all full electric as well, I guess. But yeah, there are others out there that offer more power, more torque, and lower fuel consumption. Let's go for a drive now and see how it goes, and then we'll do the performance test later on as well. Out on the road, look, I think it is a little bit disappointing that power and torque have been reduced compared with the previous model. Evolution is, you usually get more power and more torque, not less. And this is larger and heavier than the previous model too. So it just means the engine has to work a little bit harder. It feels okay out on the road, like I'll show you the sort of kick down. Nobody behind me, 40 kilometers an hour, full throttle. Makes a nice big noise. And look, it goes okay, but yeah, I think it would be nice if it had at least the same power, or just a little bit more than the previous model. Like obviously power and speed aren't everything, especially in a practical mid-size SUV like this. But yeah, I think the turbo model previously was a nice package because the engine didn't have to work very hard. It's a big capacity 4-cylinder, 2.5 litres. Then with the turbo on top, yeah, had heaps of torque, well over 400 newton meters, 420 I think from memory. I think that was a nice balanced engine. But anyway, fuel consumption is the same as before, 7.4 litres per 100 kilometres. I'm averaging 8.9 so far. I think you could see that bump, drop down a little bit with extended regular use. I've been driving around predominantly in the suburbs, a bit in the city, but a bit of highway driving as well. I think, yeah, it's not far off a realistic figure, although I am just testing it. It's got low kilometers on the clock and so on. Once you run it in and yeah, drive it in a more normal manner without performance testing, without sort of sporty driving, I think you could expect a slightly lower result than that. And that's not that low really, 8 point anything in a vehicle like this for 2026 is, yeah, it's not that low really. You can get plug-in hybrids and so on, or even just full hybrids that offer 5s or 6s, 6 litres per 100, and you're getting sometimes more power than this. So yeah, I think that's where Mazda is falling behind a little bit, but the simplicity of this package is going to appeal to some people too, because you've just got naturally aspirated engine, no complicated turbo or potential heat problems or cooling problems. And you've got just a conventional automatic transmission, no CVT here. So yeah, it is very easy to drive, very practical and user-friendly to drive. As usual with Mazdas, excellent build quality and ride comfort and fit and finish. Like, there are no rattles in here at all. It feels very well put together, even on an ordinary road like this. It's not bouncing me around, it's not too cushy and yeah, just starting to sort of wallow about, but it's not overly stiff and sporty. It's a very nice balance. The steering has some weight about it and there's plenty of feedback coming through, but it's not fidgety or, you know, overly sensitive. I think that's also a good balance for the overall package. Like, even the driving position here, I can lower the seat right down if I want to. I've got the steering wheel perfectly out at my chest. This is one of those cars that is, yeah, what I would describe as very drivable. You don't have to get used to anything, it's just get in and drive it. Simplicity, but also with a layer of refinement and luxury over the top. In terms of sheer grip and handling, I think the CX-5 remains as one of the best in its class. It just goes where you point it. Although you don't have all that much power, with the all-wheel drive system, you've just got that safety net, the security and stability there when you need it. So if you're driving in the pouring rain or something like that, you hit a puddle, there's a bit of aquaplaning happening, the all-wheel drive system will help keep the car aligned and straight. Probably the only thing that's not quite user-friendly and in sync with the rest of the driving character is that big screen. Like, the climate controls down there, to adjust those, like, look at the aircon button there, it's so small. You're trying to focus on the road and you're trying to get your finger right on that button. It just, yeah, it can be a bit distracting in my opinion. I would rather have the old physical controls, the buttons down here for climate control. You can have the screen for all the media, that's fine in my opinion. But yeah, having proper buttons I think is better. Overall, I think this is a great package. Like, you've got Mazda's typical refinement and quality in terms of build quality and interior, but also the drive character. Like, this just feels like a solid package to drive. But then you've also got the sort of old school powertrain setup, which is going to appeal to some buyers out there that don't or aren't ready to go for fully electric or plug-in hybrid or hybrid electric packages. They just want a simple petrol engine with a simple gearbox. You don't have to get used to anything, you just drive it. And then when you do drive it, it's actually quite nice to drive. All right, let's head off now and do the performance test and see how it goes.